On February 8th of 2024, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced that they're going to be recognizing a new Oscar in the category of Best Casting. We also found out recently that this is going to be a short-listed category, so we will get 10 films on a short list that will be eligible for ultimately the 5 nominated films in Best Casting, and it's starting with the upcoming Oscars. Let's talk about some of these supreme casting jobs. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the garage. I do my Oscar predictions way too often. I just did the first round of what I call power rankings. I'll tag that video on here for you in case you want to check it out. If you love this kind of content, which is basically talking about movies and award season, an unhealthy amount, then make sure you like and subscribe below. Now, when it comes to Best Casting, I don't know what to expect. And I think we're kind of going to be in a wait and see holding pattern where this award is going to have to kind of gain a historical reference over the course of probably 3 to 5 years before we will really know what to expect fully from a prediction standpoint. But that also makes it really fun. So what I'm doing on this video is I'm essentially giving you what I think the 10 movies that'll be on that initial short list for Best Casting will be. And then I'm going to throw in a few honorable mentions that I think will be in the mix too. But when it comes to Best Casting, is it just a SAG Ensemble offshoot? Is it a Best Picture 2.0, which often the Best Editing Oscar ends up being? Is it films that aren't even in the Best Picture discussion as a way for the Academy to recognize those films because maybe they don't receive any other Academy Award nominations? I just don't know. I would love to know what you think. Hit me down in the comments, and God forbid, if someone from the Academy is watching this video, please let me know what the hell you guys are going to do when it comes to Best Casting, because I frankly just don't know. So I'll talk through these as we go through the presentation. Let's start with my honorable mentions. I've got 5 honorables. I'm essentially going to talk about 15 movies tonight, but real quickly, I'll just list these 5 movies that I think could be in the running for Best Casting, although they're not my 10 most likely. Here we go. First movie I'm going to mention for honorable mentions is the new Knives Out film, Wake Up Dead Man. This is obviously starring Daniel Craig, but you've also got Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Kaylee Spady, Thomas Hayden Church. Oh my God! Another one that I think is a huge Oscars player, so this is kind of mirroring that for Best Casting, would be Sentimental Value, the new Joaquin Trier film starring Renate Rosva, who I adore, but also you have Stellan Skarsgård and Elle Fanning, well-known actors in there, and then you have some names that I'm not familiar with, which is going to be a key component to how I kind of came up with my films that I'm talking about tonight. But I think when casting directors are doing their thing, if they can pluck out these kind of unknown actors or cast these folks that have only maybe been in TV or commercials or bit parts, and you see how well they fit into that story, that's a big deal. That almost is a bigger deal from a casting standpoint than casting like something like Knives Out I just mentioned, because we know what all those actors can do. So really the accomplishment there is getting them all on the same set together. Whereas if you're discovering a newcomer, then that could go a long way in terms of a Best Casting Award, I would think. How about Avatar, Fire and Ash? Another big one, another almost guaranteed blockbuster, and another movie that's going to be at the Oscars in one way or another. If the only thing it were to get with visual effects, you still know it's going to be there for that. And never count out James Cameron, as I said to you on my previous Oscar predictions video. So I'm going to go with Hamnet as an honorable mention from Chloe Zhao. This is a film that I am all in on in terms of my Oscar predictions, at least the early version of that. I don't have it in the 10 for shortlist for Best Casting, because I do think there's some other ones that are a little bit stronger if you're just looking at the names on the cast list. But I think this is another one that follows that equation that I was mentioning to you, where it has some big Oscar-worthy names, people that have been there before, whether it's nomination or wins. Obviously, Chloe Zhao, but casting-wise, Jessie Buckley, Paul Mescal. Then you also have several names that I'm not super familiar with, but they're high on the cast list. Look out for those. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So Hamnet's a possibility also. And then the last honorable mention I'll throw in here at number 11, technically, I think just maybe miss a Best Casting shortlist at the Academy, is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, Christoph Waltz, some other names that I am not super familiar with that I've been mentioning as a theme on this video that round out this kind of period piece setting based on the classic Mary Shelley story. It's going to have the gothic horror elements to it, but it's Guillermo del Toro, which they love. His films are always going to be under a spotlight. And with this Best Casting Award, sometimes those huge directors like Cameron, like Del Toro, maybe they get a nudge in this initial year because they're just so well known. All right, and then let's go through what I think will be the short list as we're sitting here in May. At number 10, After the Hunt from Luca Guadagnino. The cast list is Julia Roberts, Io Adebari, Andrew Garfield, Michael Strahlberg, Chloe Sevigny, and then several other names that I'm gonna stop when it's names that I may recognize, but I don't really know and I can't place. And there we go. So you see the rest of that cast list. So you have the opportunity to have these discoveries, right? Newcomers into Hollywood. That's going to be a theme with really all of these shortlist films for me. But then you have the huge names that are going to really carry the project and possibly offer nominations in their respective fields. I've got Julia Roberts at number 1 right now for lead actress, for example. I've also got Andrew Garfield and Io Adebari in the mix, in the hunt. See what I did there? For their supporting roles, respectively, also. So all that to me says this is a great cast, which is really what this award is for. So I've got After the Hunt as a player. Also, since I don't have it in my picture or director predictions right now, maybe this is a chance to give it some gold outside of those huge top-of-the-line categories other than performances. My number 9 is a film that I think is a huge player, but when I did my predictions initially, I had 3 Netflix films in my Best Picture nominees for the 10. I don't think that's going to happen just logistically. Could it happen? Of course. But I think Netflix is more like 1 to 2. So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing, but right now I've got Jay Kelly as my number 9 for possibility for Best Casting. If for no other reason, because of the names. Like I said, I'm going to stop when it gets to actors I don't know. Let me take a deep breath. George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Greta Gerwig, Riley Keough, Billy Crudup, Patrick Wilson, Jim Broadbent, Ela Fisher, Emily Mortimer, Grace Edwards. I'll stop there. Although there's a couple others I know, and I have it listed on the screen there, most likely, or a screenshot for you. So I just think it's going to be a cool movie, and it's going to have a cool cast. And it's going to be one of the more fun movies, I think. But it's got Sandler, his daughters. I think it's going to scream like, oh, this is a fun cast. I don't have it in the 5, obviously, but I do think it's going to be on the short list. And I think it's something we should be looking out for from a Noah Baumbach kind of prestige standpoint. It's got his own wife in it, Greta Gerwig, who the Academy obviously loves. This is a good cast, so I expect it to show up on the short list, maybe even in the 5. Number 8 is the Darren Aronofsky film, Caught Stealing. It stars Austin Butler in that lead role, who I currently have in my 5 for Best Actor. Also Zoe Kravitz, Matt Smith, Regina King, Lev Shriver, Vincent D'Onofrio, Bad Bunny, which I like, hang on. So a lot of other names there on the cast list that frankly I'm not super familiar with. So there's a couple movies that I'm going to be talking about. This is the first one where it's bringing in performers, musicians, artists from other mediums and putting them in a pretty prominent role in their film. So Aronofsky's got Bad Bunny, who's like an R&B rap guy that I don't really know his music very well, but I know him from the popular zeitgeist. And he plays a pretty prominent role in this movie. Some of the stills that have been released about the film, he's in it, dressed kind of very like audaciously in the film, very lavish. And then you've got Austin Butler doing these like street crimes with Zoe Kravitz. And it's a great looking cast. And another thing about Aronofsky that I've mentioned in my predictions video, like I said, I have Butler in my 5 right now for actor. Aronofsky knows how to, I mean, it's not him, it's the casting directors, but he's obviously involved in that process. And his movies tend to bring just amazing casts together. And on top of that, from that cast, we often get nominees from these Aronofsky films, especially in like the lead categories. Most recently would be Brendan Fraser from The Whale, who ended up winning Best Actor. My number 7 is going to follow a very similar mindset to what I just gave you with Caught Stealing, and that's Marty Supreme, which is directed by Josh Safdie. Now, of course, you have Timothée Chalamet in the mix, and he's also in my lead actor discussion right now in my predictions for the top 5. You've also got Gwyneth Paltrow, who's essentially returning to acting, at least film acting. So there you go. And I've got her in the supporting actress conversation, by the way. And then here you go, Tyler, the Creator. I know the name and I know the face, but again, he's a musician. He's not an actor by trade, at least not initially. So we've got him in 3rd build in this movie. Then you've also got Fran Drescher in the film. I think she plays Timmy's mom, the president of the Screen Actors Guild. Another actress like Paltrow, who has not done a ton of acting in multiple years. Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. The billionaire Kevin O'Leary's in this film, 5th build, mind you. Penn Jillette, the magician from Penn and Teller, as 6th build. Now, I don't know if best casting is going to be the most interesting gathered cast of the year, but if so, this one has really sparked my intrigue, maybe above all others. This has got to be the most eclectic cast that I'm going to be talking about on this video, just based on what I just told you. My number 6 would be the Mike Flanagan film, The Life of Chuck. I've got this film just outside of my Best Picture 10, but it is in the top 20. The only thing I have it competing for on a major top-of-the-line award right now is Mark Hamill for supporting actor. But you've got him in there, obviously one of the most famous actors in the world, but predominantly from Star Wars, but of course from many other things also. Matthew Lillard, who has been out of the game in terms of everything but really like horror films. I mean, the Scream franchise, the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, Scooby-Doo, but it's mostly IP or horror stuff. Karen Gillian, Mark Hamill, I mentioned, David Dastmalchian, also another horror actor traditionally. Kate Siegel, who Flanagan always works with, and here she is popping up in another film. Jacob Tremblay, Nick Offerman, Heather Langenkamp, who is Nancy from the Nightmare on Elm Street films, another horror actress traditionally. Another interesting one to me in this cast is Mia Sara, who was Sloane in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She hasn't worked in a long time in movie acting, and she's in The Life of Chuck. I'm not sure what that role is going to be. She's like 10th build, but all right, here we go. Getting in my top 5. This is in May, on May 12th, what I'm saying is going to be the 5 nominated films for Best Casting. How many of these 5 will I get right? Here we go. My number 5 is going to be from Lynn Ramsey, Die My Love. This is a film that I think could spark interest among the casting directors. There's like 140 of them on this branch that'll be going through the short list. Die My Love is a film that features 2 powerhouse younger actors in Hollywood, what I would say is young Hollywood. That's Jennifer Lawrence, who is a previous Oscar winner and multiple nominee at the forefront of this film. And then Robert Pattinson, who is an actor who the Oscars have eluded his career thus far, although he's turned in some really sturdy work that is definitely Oscar worthy. Now, with Best Casting, I don't have Die My Love in my 10 for picture right now, although I do have it in the very near misses. So now are you looking at a situation where it's like, we need to honor this project and all the great performances in this film. That's where that comes in for me with Die My Love. Also, Lakeith Stanfield I have in my top 10, not quite in the 5, but in my top 10 for supporting actor, because I saw his name pop up in here as 3rd build, which leads me to believe that Pattinson is in that lead actor role. But you've also got some Hollywood royalty, or I should say legendary Hollywood actors in this film, in Sissy Spacek, a previous Oscar winner, and Nick Nolte, who's been around literally since way before I was born, acting in movies. And then you've got a lot of other names, like I said, that could be discoveries in Hollywood. Lynn Ramsey has a very interesting way of filming her movies that can be off-putting to a lot of people that I would say are Academy-esque. I love it, and a lot of people in the public eye love it. The other one I'm going to put in the 5 for being nominated for Best Casting is my number 4, which is The Rivals of Uzziah King, directed by Andrew Patterson. Matthew McConaughey, previous Oscar winner, possibly returning to glory here at the Academy. For a lead actor, I've got him in that conversation if you watch my previous video. Kurt Russell, dude, freaking legend, that guy. He's played everything, including Santa Claus. I love that guy. Cole Sprouse, which would be that young Hollywood that I was talking about. Owen Teague, same thing. And then you have a lot of other names I don't recognize, including Angelina Lookingglass, who's an indigenous actor that I've heard her name being thrown around as a Star is Born moment. When a casting director is able to do it, they will find a star-making performance, a star-making performer, actor or actress, put them in a movie, and they're discovered. That's their moment. I think we could be looking at something similar with Angelina Lookingglass based on what I've heard. Some people, including my friend Matt Neglia, have seen the movie and they loved it. I have not seen it, so I can't speak to it on my personal attachment to the film. But based on what I've heard and what I kind of am basing my Best Casting nominees initially on, that could be huge. If Lookingglass is a Stars Born moment, and then you have powerhouses like McConaughey and Kurt Russell in the mix, what are we doing here? Especially if the movie is going to be a player, which I think it will be. I've got it in my 10 for Best Picture right now, along with McConaughey as well. So let's see, I've got Rivals of Uzziah King in the 5. And then for my top 3, I didn't list them like this on purpose, but I'm going to call this the 3 no-brainers. If you don't have these 3 in your best casting predictions early, at least early. Now, of course, when the movies come out and the reception is what it is, then maybe we have to change things. But assuming these 3 are going to be players, you got to do it. So for me, starting out at number 3 is going to be Wicked for Good. Now, the first Wicked was nominated for cast at the SAG Awards, Best Ensemble, other casting awards throughout the season also. Not to mention it won several awards as a film, and at the Academy Awards, it was nominated for 10 Oscars. Now, going into this year, Wicked for Good, let's just say, underperforms nomination-wise because the Academy has the mental block. We already did that. And it was just not even a year ago that they did it, less than a year when they'll be casting their votes for nominees and short lists and whatever. So and I'm not saying they're going to do that, but that is a fear that I have with Wicked for Good, is that the Academy members that voted for it last time feel like it's a losing battle to do it all over again. They already gave it its due. I'm going to nominate something else. So because of that, it's not going to receive 10 nominations. I would be shocked if it got that many again. But I do have it right now in the 4 to 6 range for Academy Award nominations, including Arrivo and including Grande, which are both obviously acting awards from the cast. And then not only that, I've got Jonathan Bailey at my number 6 right now, right outside of the Best Supporting Actor nominees. And he could be in that 5 when the time comes next year. Nonetheless, this is a tremendous cast that not only is acting, but doing their own singing. You've also got Hollywood legends in here and previous Oscar winners. Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, of course, Bowen Yang, who's been popping up everywhere, including on Oscar nominations morning this past year, doing the announcements with Rachel Sennett. So this could be an opportunity for the Academy to go, Wicked, we love you. You remember when the Globes did that whole, what do they call it, like best box office blockbuster or something? I don't know, whatever that stupid award they do is. That begs the question. If Wicked for Good wins Best Casting, but Arrivo does not get nominated or does not win, is she still in the EGOT? Does she have the EGOT now? I actually don't know the answer to that, but something to think about. I've got Wicked for Good at number 3. My number 2 is your next no-brainer, and that's Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. I mentioned when I did my predictions video last week that a lot of people, Oscar Expert, Hanacast, a lot of dudes that I really love and follow religiously, are taking One Battle Another out of their top 10 for Best Picture. I don't get it. It's literally my number 1 and has been since I heard it was coming out. Now, that could change, and the box office and the release date might have a lot to do with that, but I'm not doing it yet because there's no reason to do it yet. I'm going to wait till I see the movie until the general public has seen the movie and the reception is what it is, and I'll go from there. Same thing can be said when it comes to Best Casting. I think it's in the mix very highly for that, honestly. There's only one movie that I think stands a better chance. And my formula, as I told you, is historically well-known actors with the Academy. That's one component. Another component is new up-and-comers or perhaps unknown actors. That's another component. The third component that I kind of am factoring into these predictions for casting is not a traditional acting performer, but someone that's known for their celebrity status or the other trade that they practice that kind of is adjacent to Hollywood. Musicians, writers, in the case of Marty Supreme, magicians and businessmen. I don't know. Well, in One Battle After Another, you have powerhouses, 3 huge ones, all that have been present at the Academy Awards on multiple occasions. Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and Benicio del Toro. Forget about it. Just those 3 names alone, and you're in a good spot for Best Casting. But on top of that, Regina Hall, who is a freaking brilliant masteress. I've got her in my 5 right now for Supporting Actress. And another one that could give her a run for that spot in Supporting Actress, or frankly, both of them could get it, depending on how strong the film is overall, is Tiana Taylor, who should have been nominated a few years ago for 1001. This is me giving you my disappointed dad face. But you also have Chase Infinity in this movie, which is a young actress that I think plays Leo's daughter in the film, based on what I can gather from the trailers. And she's also a pop musician that I don't think has ever had any acting credits, at least in movies. So that all 3 components exist in this film, add up to what I think is a very eclectic, well put together in a PTA film led by 3 of the most decorated actors. Everybody on the Academy knows who those 3 dudes are in the last 15 to 20 years. Best Casting, I've got it as my runner-up. And then my number 1 to show up in the Best Casting nominees next award season at the Oscars is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. GTFO, if you don't believe this is going to happen. This movie is a blockbuster, an absolute, not only money-wise, it's making money, but not only money-wise for Warner Brothers. I'm talking about it's a phenomenon. Everybody, general audiences, critical audiences, and eventually awards voters are going to eat this movie up. And from a casting standpoint, the trifecta exists for my equation in this film too. Now, in the case of like Hollywood, elite might not be the best word, but just well-known in the Academy, you've got Delroy Lindo, and then of course the director, Ryan Coogler. I know he's not in the cast, but when Coogler, much like PTA in the previous pick, is at the helm, the Academy takes notice. This is the director? Okay. And not only that, he's involved in the casting, of course. Michael B. Jordan, well-loved. Haley Steinfeld, who was a pop singer, still is, I think, was a previous nominee at the age of 12 and 13 years old. I already talked to you about that. And then you also have a young Miles Catton in this film who really steals the show in the movie. Honestly, every scene he's in, he's just electric. And that's another musical component being factored in here also, because he is also a musician and did not have any film experience prior to Sinners. And then you look at the grand scale, the cast list down. You know, it's a lot of names that you don't know, a lot of faces that might be familiar, but you can't match them to the names. And I'm in the same boat. But how well, another component of think about this for best casting, is how well did that cast work together? And in this movie, especially when you get to the last act of the film and the hair ring part of it with the supernatural and the vampires, and they're trapped in the juke joint and they have to survive together. There's like 7 or 8 of them. Different struggles that these people were going through in that time period. And I'm not even talking about the vampires. Honestly, that was the least of their problems, unfortunately. But there's just this wonderful element of an actual ensemble, and that they have to be there for each other to prevail. And that could be thought of from a casting technicality standpoint also. And I think it will be. And I think Sinners is going to be a multiple nominated film. I've currently got it getting nominated, and I haven't done the below the line predictions yet. So if you hit me in my comments, I might respond to you. But right now I've got it getting nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Casting. It's my number 1 most likely to be nominated for next year's first inaugural Best Casting Oscar. There you go, guys. I want to know what you think. Hit me down below. I didn't think I was going to be doing another predictions video this closely to my round 1 power rankings. Don't forget that's tagged on this video if you want to check those out. And I'll be updating those at least once a month leading up to the fall season when we get into the festivals and it becomes a little more in focus, although I still won't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'll be out here talking about it. If you like this, don't forget, please subscribe. And by the way, if you're a channel regular and you didn't know this, channel memberships are open. All you have to do is click join below, or you can even head over to my Patreon if you want to contribute there. But it helps me come out of here and buy a 6-pack and sit in the garage. This is Mountain Dew, but I drink beer typically, and talk about movies and award season. If you like that, make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.